Sideliners will be furious, as we'll go over in today's video. Bitcoin is very likely to do one thing over this next week to two spread, and we'll also be going over potential for pullback targets as well. If Bitcoin were to do something, a little bit unexpected in the short term, as that's always possible. Before we get into that, I want to still let people know that you can get 10% cash back on all of your trading fees, meaning that you get cash, or you basically get your fees reduced by 10% on your limit orders and your market orders with the link in the description below for Bluffin, and it's going to be for the lifetime of your account. Again, I've been really fucking aggressive in showing this because it is, at least in my opinion, a really, really good deal. We don't see fee reductions really offered by exchanges anymore, and it's also for a non-KYC exchange. So here's the thing also. I think within the next week, if we get a few more people onto this, I can probably get a bigger discount, which is going to be pretty fucking cool. And also for anyone who gets it right now, by the way, you will be grandfathered into the bigger one. Or does that make sense? You will get the bigger one is what I'm trying to say. All right, sweet. Let's jump into it right here. And really, honestly, it's a selfish thing. I want bigger fee reductions. It's really what it comes down to. Anyways, let's start it off with some Monday action, then we'll get into the actual content of the day. There's my bot speaking in the background. Go fuck yourself. We have more important things to be speaking about right now. So first things first, Monday, as always, is a nice potential for a strategy Monday, which anytime that we've opened along on the strike of 00 UTC at the beginning of Monday and then close that long at 10 a.m. UTC Tuesday, it has yielded these long-term results right here. This actually being backtested from 2016. We go, all the way to the beginning of the dawn of time for Bitcoin, and wait for the backtester to do that as well. But in the meantime, last week we saw a pretty sizable gain right here. This one opening the trade at 80,600, closing it at 88,800. So more than a 10% gain. Pretty nice. A very modest gain the week before that. The week before that, again, another multi-$1,000 gain from 68 all the way to 71 in change. And, before that, a few wins, a few losses. And ultimately, this has had about a coin flips probability on whether it's likely to close positively or negatively. But because the profit factor is greater than 1, it is going to yield some nice equity curves over a long period of time. What am I trying to say with this? I'm not saying that this is like the best strategy of all time, but it is useful to know that you do have kind of that asymmetrical risk to reward on Mondays in particular. Not to say that all Mondays are going to close positively. In fact, it's closer to 50-50, but the positive gaining Mondays significantly outweigh the negative losing Mondays, is what we base that off of. And of course, that is being based off of the historical price action statistical indicator right here. You can see that Monday has actually had, since 2024 began, a higher probability, in fact the second highest probability of any day of the week to close positively, and some pretty nice returns for that. I should also let people know that if you do have the historical price action statistics indicator, you are going to get another indicator in the CT suite called the CT sequential, which will show up in your trading view sometime in the next 2 days, let's say. Elsa's kind of busy with emails already, it seems like, but the CT sequential is actually a really, really cool tool. I've showed it a few times already, but it was hilariously good back here, by the way, from the beginning of this November run, because we'd got a massive sequence of consecutive closures, but basically it is measuring the probability of continuing a consecutive sequential bar types, which basically means it's giving you the probability of if the current bar is green, how likely is the next one to close green as well, and then also the returns for that as well, and it can represent that in visual form here. So this would be assuming that every day from here, if I'm looking at the green ones, closed green from here on average, or if it were to play out the average returns, by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Bitcoin's in 6 digits. Again, that implies that for the next 3 to 5 days, Bitcoin is literally green every day, and we could have like couple days green, 1 day red, something like that. But it is fun to look at. You can also do it for the downside as well, of course. And I just thought that was rather interesting. I'm still biased towards the upside here, as we'll go over in a moment, just because one of the big charts that we brought out last week is still very much relevant, and that is going to be, let's actually do it here for the weekly first. And I want to update on this each week of this cycle, because I do think that it is relevant for essentially judging when Bitcoin is even potentially putting in a cycle high. So whenever I'm looking at potential for cycle highs or cycle lows for that matter, I want to see extremes on a volatility indicator like the BBWP. And in this case, we can see that all prior macro cycle highs have been followed by a minimum weekly BBWP read of at least 93 percentile. 93 percentile, or actually, sorry, is that maybe a little bit lower? That might be closer to 92 and a quarter. Okay, about 92 and a quarter percentile. And again, just because, the weekly BBWP that gets there doesn't necessarily mean that things have to end there, but it would at least give us a warning signal that, hey, the majority of this cycle is likely already over, especially in terms of timing. And as of right now, with the open of this new week, the weekly BBWP has moved up. It's moved up significantly, as you would guess, but it is currently at 73 and a quarter about. So, this has room for more. And again, we could very easily get, a double extreme on this, similar to what we saw in 2018 right here on the highs, similar to what we saw over here in 2013. And even in 2011 as well. But as of right now, we haven't even seen the first extreme, which is quite impressive. I would have expected to have seen it by now, but my expectations don't need to be met in this case. I mean, it's just my opinion. The data is what the data is. That's why I like to go off of objective signals, because the number is what the number is. Just a mathematical calculation. That's it. It's always going to be consistent with that. And then when I bring it over here to the 2-week time frame, I think things become even more interesting, or at least I think they're more interesting, because for the bi-weekly time frame, we can do a similar sort of thing. Looking at extremes for BBWP to get highs, and I'll just mark them off right here, and then we'll go through them. But the minimum read that we've seen to get a macro high, or even like a super major high, is 86 and a quarter. 86 and a quarter compared to where it's at right now for the biweekly is like, I mean, this really would be suggesting that things have kind of only just begun, which is really fucking crazy. So if I want to be super, super bullish, that's what I'd be looking at right there. Now, I'm not talking about short-term pullbacks. Bitcoin could very easily have a pullback down to like $82,000. It doesn't change any of this. That would be likely an opportunity. But again, this chart right here was one of the big ones for, essentially timing this last breakout with the hidden bullish evidence on the biweekly stochastic oscillator and maintaining in that bullish control zone, plus expansion of volatility. And again, volatility is a measurement of the dispersion of returns. So when the dispersion of returns gets super, super high, you're probably looking at a macro high or a macro low. That works out very, very consistently. But yeah, right now, the bi-weekly is all the way at 33 percentile. Again, minimum highs we've seen around here. So fair enough. Anyways, moving on from there and talking about, talking about timing of this, I want to go over to our statistics right here. Just remind myself and perhaps the community out there as well, as to the greater picture. We went over the Bitcoin November lows. We were suggesting that it's going to be very, very early on within the month. We saw it early on within the month, assuming Bitcoin doesn't go back down below $68,000, but possible, I guess. But especially in election years, happening very, very early on, consistently within the month on the second, third, and second day. Now, same thing for Bitcoin November highs here. During macro uptrends, the high typically comes in after the start of the third week of the month, which is coming up actually quite soon here. In fact, or the 21st, which would be this Thursday. So again, on election years, though, we have seen it come in significantly later on in the month, the 26th, the 30th, and then, yes, once in the 19th. Again, three, n equals 3 is not a great data set, but it is interesting to see that this has played out really well, not just at the beginning of this month for the lows, but also in October, literally to the T, and again in September, almost to the T as well. It's kind of fucking weird. But yeah, it's just another thing saying that, hey, if even if Bitcoin does have a short-term pullback here, it could come easily down to $82,000. upside, still the more likely direction over this next week or two. Kind of into, I guess closer to the end of the month. Also looking at the HPDR, I made a quick Twitter post about this earlier this morning, but the 5-day time frame, which opened up last week and has another 2 days left to go, is showing the range between 87.8. That's the low already, which makes me kind of consider that we probably won't see a pullback before continuation, and the high side of the current range at 96,900. This is for CME again, so there is a premium over spot price action. But it would actually suggest that we probably have already seen the low for this current period, and probably do see higher by end of period, or maybe not the end of this current period, but the next couple periods, let's say, potentially all the way up to just below 97,000 bucks. Of course, from there, the weekly can take over and everything, and 6-digit Bitcoin is actually is possible, I would say, within the next 2 weeks. But I really would be expecting a pullback around that region, around 101, 100,000-ish region, probably like a pretty decent pullback as well. And that's maybe when Sideliners get a bit of a chance here. But it does seem like things likely want to continue here. So how would you know that I'm going to be wrong about my opinion will be wrong about continuation, and you should expect a pullback potentially all the way down to 82,000 bucks. If Bitcoin closes below Friday's low, which is 87,000, 82,000, very, very likely. And that probably is a major opportunity. Again, with the reconnect, let me just go over here, with the reconnect of the weekly 5 exponential, which Bitcoin loves to reconnect with it on pretty much every move. It's the red moving average right here, by the way. Let me just get rid of everything else. You can see that Bitcoin really doesn't stay too often away from it. And when it does not reconnect with it, then price usually kind of stays around where it is until it does reconnect. Like you see right here, boom, big move up. No reconnect, but reconnects, and price is mainly stagnant there, for example. That would be a good example. So, here, again, it's coming in around 82,000 bucks. Funnily enough, that matches up the earlier thing. So, if Bitcoin does come down around there, it should be an opportunity, but it's not a rule. It doesn't have to, I guess. Anyways, moving on from there, let's go over short term very, very quickly. 4-hour time frame, for Bitcoin CME. Let me just put back on my major moving averages. We did see hidden bullish evidence on the last 4-hour low from Friday on CME. This is still active, especially as long as Bitcoin is above 88,000. So that actually, again, be suggesting short term Bitcoin probably retest the high, and I guess from there, it makes new highs. It does seem like things are getting very aggressive right now, because do keep in mind, when we look at the daily BBWP, we did hit an extreme here, and things are, going sideways a little bit. This probably cools off for another couple days, and then I guess the bullish view is that it's going to do the double extreme, but that second one is very, very likely to be a big high. So I really, while I've been quite aggressive these last few weeks, I do want to take a more of a cautious tone. Maybe not this week. It probably does have one more, but very, very close. We're very fucking close. Very fucking close. Even the daily stochastic oscillator is about to pop back up above 90,900. Bitcoin is below that right now, but you could see it potentially happening by end of day there. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this video. Maybe one last thing actually too. Just an update on the 5-day time frame strategy. The 5-day 5 EMA, this red moving average right here. Again, very simple strategy over the full history of Bitcoin. I mean, it's had great returns, mostly because it is designed to catch on to these long trending moves, which is what it has done here. It longed at 62,800, and it's still open and will continue to be open as long as Bitcoin's above the 5 exponential, which is again at around 82 to 83,000 bucks right now. But here's the thing: when we go into the data and we look at the performance summary, and we see that the average amount of bars in winning trades, which this one's pretty likely to be a winning trade, is 10 bars. We can see that this is actually pretty close to ending soon. In fact, 10 bars is going to close. The 10th bar is going to close on Saturday. Wait, Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. Hey, what? Does that make sense? No, sorry. Okay, it's gonna close on Thursday. It's gonna close on Thursday, the 21st. The 21st again is where we actually do see the average of November highs coming in around for macro uptrends. Although again, those election years kind of coming in a little bit later. So we'll see what that means for this one. Again, I'd just be saying this one's probably seen the majority of its returns as well. So yeah. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this video. I suppose this is a cautious video of a likely continuation followed by an actual pullback and consolidation for a little bit of time. I wouldn't be surprised to see things get quiet-ish into early December, after that happens, and then maybe set it up for another move after that. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, I want to wish everyone the best. Again, if you have the historical price action statistics indicator right here, you will get access to the CT sequential in your trading view. It'll just pop up there. You don't need to do anything about it. Else it will add it for you. It'll just take like a day or two as she kind of works through the list. So yeah. As always, wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.